Welcome into the feature match area, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, for the greatest show on earth. Right here, Magic the Gathering, GP Las Vegas 2013. On your left, Melissa Detora. On your right, Dustin Ochoa. What are we going to look for in this match, Gavin?
Well, we watched Melissa draft her deck. She's playing a green-white kind of aggressive deck, a lot of good 2-drops, some good Thalids, and then Tromp the Domains to end the game. She also has a light splash of black along with some Kodama's Reaches to enable removal like Drag Down and so on. I don't know what's in Dusty's deck. You watched him last round. What was he playing?
He was playing black-red with a splash of white. So he's got some Giants. Actually, we see Hasty Giant right there in his hand. Just kind of solid black-white. A little bit of domain. He's got like a Tribal Flames kind of thing going for 3.
Now, notable this game, Melissa did not have a 2-drop. Her deck has several, including 2 or 3 Amaru Scouts, 2 Veteran Armorers, but she didn't have a single one there.
And there's Kodama's Reach, so that's going to get her into lands number 4 and 5 pretty quickly.
And there you go. She finds the swamp there to give her everything she needs. It's worth noting that if Melissa kept a hand with her first play being a 3rd turn Kodama's Reach, this might be a hand that goes up a little higher than her normal aggressive hand. She might have a 5-drop to play next turn or something like that.
All right, there's Dusty's Splash of White and Pyrite Spellbomb.
Now, what was Dusty splashing white for? Just the domain, or was there something in particular?
We didn't see anything on camera with white. So and we don't have the deck list. Maybe we can get that. All we saw was Tribal Flames.
What about when we had to wait?
And there's a Thalid Germinator for Melissa Detora, and that's the first creature to hit the board. This is turn 4, and finally the first play is made.
There is that Tribal Flames, and Dustin is just using his Spellbomb to cycle. He probably figures most of the things that she's going to put out now are beyond the reach of the 2 damage of that Spellbomb. There's Murderous Redcap. Oh my goodness. Test of Faith.
That is a good trick by Melissa Detora. By taking the extra time to set up with the Kodama's Reach, she could Test of Faith that Murderous Redcap and make her Thalid Germinator a 4/4. Nice.
We did see Dusty has some Goblins. He's got a Mad Ante, so he was using that to make the Murderous Redcap a little bigger, do a little more damage.
Yeah, some of the most important cards in the Goblin deck are the uncommons. You have Mad Ante, Murderous Redcap, Anti-Snitch, and the combination between the two is really, really strong if you can get the uncommons.
Right. So, turn back on Melissa Detora. Thalid Germinator, now with 2+1 counters on it, and their judges could come in, give a different die for the Spore counters.
These board states can have so much going on. Melissa serves for 4 damage there, and Dusty opts to not block.
She's going to land cycle.
Yep.
Get another Forest. Play it, and she's land cycling with the Sylvan Bounty. It's a little early to need the life boost from that.
Right.
Oh, a Greater Moss Dog?
All right.
I think it's the first one of those we've seen all weekend.
Yeah, I haven't seen many of those in play. It's kind of, a mediocre card that can fill out your deck, but, if you need a 4-mana 3/3 and, Melissa looked at her deck, thought she did, you could certainly play it. Notably, Melissa hasn't played a lot of cards that have cost her cards out of her hand. She's land cycled something, she's cast Kodama's Reach, and she's put out 2 creatures in a Test of Faith, so her hand might have a lot of action in it, especially if she spent time land cycling with Sylvan Bounty.
All right. Dustin peeled off the Vivid Crag there, which he's going to put on the battlefield. And he's going to reach into his bag for a die. Then we didn't get to see much of his hand. Did you see anything on the fan there?
Yeah, he's got a Glacial Ray, a Tribal Flames. 2 premier removal spells he's fanning out there. He's got a couple more red cards hidden behind them, and I can't help but feel like they're more removal spells, perhaps a Fiery Fall or something, but I'm not as sure on those. So
right, there's counters for his Vivid Crag, and he's gonna get in with the red cap. Not a particularly profitable block for Melissa, since it would persist back.
And then kill off the Moss Dog, so
and
yeah.
Kill off the Moss Dog.
Looks like a drag down also in Dusty's hand. So yeah, a ton of removal spells sitting in Dusty's hand. It's just a matter of when he wants to blow them and on what.
Well, you figure he's going to want to get rid of the Germinator sooner rather than later before it builds up a bunch of spore counters.
Right. And you said Dusty was only 3 colors, right? So that Tribal Flames can knock it up to 4 damage?
That's not that we saw.
All right. So if Dusty wanted to burn the Tribal Flames and the Glacial Ray, he could kill off that Germinator, but that's 2 removal spells for 1 card. I'm sure he was hoping Melissa would block so he could persist back, deal 1 to the Germinator, and then use Tribal Flames to finish it off, but not when it ended up happening.
All right, Dusty Ochoa in the tank a little bit here. Now he's finally going for Tribal Flames.
Yep.
And splice it on the Glacial Ray.
Or
no, not
just
splicing
cast.
on it. Yeah, just cast, hard cast. All right, Germinator's gone. I mean, it's a 2-for-1 now, but downstream, that Germinator was going to create a lot more than 2 cards.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Sheldon. I mean, it would keep making those tokens, and on top of that, it's a 4/4 body that's going to just keep hitting Dusty, and he has to be wary of that. Dusty was a little hesitant, but
Melissa serves in Spore Sower Valid.
Yep.
And Veteran Armorer from Melissa Detora.
I've been tripping on that one all day.
All weekend,
so,
yeah.
Yeah, we covered a deck yesterday that had 3 of them, and every game.
That's the one you go home and practice in the mirror. And so that Veteran Armorer helps her a lot against the burn spells because it makes her guys have a one more toughness.
Right.
Another Murderous Red Cap takes out the Veteran Armorer. That's a feature of Dusty's deck we didn't see in the last match.
No, the Twin Red Cap is very nice. I mean, that's definitely one of the premier uncommons. It's usually a 2-for-1 or maybe even more. And he puts it into play and just kills that armor right away.
Spore Sower gets a counter.
Now, something we've seen all weekend long is those Thalid decks, if you just give them too much time, they'll build up their counters, create some tokens, then you're just a chomp of the domains away from being finished. So I'm sure Dusty's aware that he has to make sure that he can't let Melissa take too much time to get her in position. And we know she has a trump. She first picked it in the draft. And I bet Dusty's probably has an idea of that too.
All right, Melissa working out her line of play here.
So I think I see an Amaru Seekers in her hand she could potentially cast. And a Drag Down. So she has some options. And yeah, there are the Seekers.
Now you watched her draft. Oh, there's Hasty Giant.
Oh yeah, Thundering Giant. Kapow.
Yeah, he's coming in. Tapped and attacking.
Just the way I like it.
Yeah.
Right into the red zone.
Yeah, I think the rule is you're supposed to just put it in, tap it into the middle of the table.
Right. We saw someone do that yesterday. I can't remember who, but I appreciate that.
All right, Melissa just takes the damage. She goes to 14. Thalid gets another counter. Now you watched her draft. Was there anything in particular that?
Oh, brutal. That's a Blinding Beam with Entwine.
Ouch. That means taps her guy. Those 2 red caps. Her guys get +2/+2.
Or it taps the red caps and Dusty's creatures don't untap next turn.
Right.
Which is crazy. I mean, she can serve in for a bunch of damage here, and now Dusty does not have his defenses anymore. He really needed those red caps, and
he goes to 4.
Yeah.
And he's going to struggle to stay alive here.
So sorry, you're asking about Melissa's deck.
Yeah. Was there anything sort of outside the box that she drafted that we want to make sure that we keep an eye out for?
Well, her deck is a pretty traditional kind of white-green deck. You would expect some Thalids. You have some Rebel searching going on in there. But she has Kodama's Reach, which can help her get to her colors, Drag Down. But she does have a bomb in the form of Yosei, which is going to be phenomenal if she ever draws in, gets it on the battlefield. We saw that end one of the games earlier.
All right. Oh, another Another Thundering Giant for Dusty Ochoa. But it's going to have to play defense, and you know you're not in a good situation when those things are playing on the D.
Right. I mean, and I think Melissa has a drag down to finish that off.
So, drag down on the Giant. Battle with everybody.
Yep, the Giant gets drugged down, and so does Dusty Ochoa's life total.
Right. All right, Melissa Detora wins game 1 of round 15 versus Dusty Ochoa. Once again, this is winning in right here. This is for all the marbles.
Absolutely, and I mean, Melissa's got to feel good up a game. I mean, this draft, we were watching a draft, and it did not start off as well as she could have hoped. I mean, it was a little rocky. She got cut on one of her colors. She took Kadama's reach and tried to start splashing. Her deck was a little all over the place, but she ended up in a pretty good spot. Something interesting to keep in mind is she has a lot of potential sideboard cards. She can switch her deck up to be a little more aggressive or defensive depending on what she's playing against. We might see her do some of that here.
All right, we'll keep an eye on what she might bring in and out.
Notably, she has a pair of Ivory Giants, which could be okay. She can make her deck a little more defensive if she feels like she wants to resist Dusty's quick onslaught, or if she thinks that Dusty has a lot of removal spells in his deck. Melissa could go on the offensive, or on the offensive a little more and try and make sure she has enough creatures.
Yeah, I mean, Dusty's removal suite seems pretty spicy.
Yes, when you were watching him last round, Sheldon, what did you see?
We saw the Glacial Ray, we saw a Drag Down, we saw the Tribal Flames. Think there was one more red, and I don't think he had a Sudden Shock that we saw.
Still, I'm curious what his white card is. I'd love to know.
And of course, Murderous Redcap. Murderous Redcap is a removal spell.
Absolutely. So here's the slide for green-white tokens. We'll kind of look at what Melissa's drafted here a little bit. You have some guys that just accumulate tokens. You've got Sporloth Ancient, you've got Spore Sower Thallid. You can have a little Thallid and Thallid Germinator if you need to, and you just quickly build up those counters and put some 1/1s into play. Here's some of the top commons for the archetype, and you'll see that Amaru Scout is one of the cards on here, and Melissa took this card really high. She has 3 of them, I think, and for 4 and tap, she can go find another one. And then, of course, the Spore Sower Thallid we saw her put to good use there, which just helps you get counters on all of your Thallids, and then creates a bunch of tokens. And then you can end the game, of course, with Trump the Domains, which is not on this list, but is certainly good in this archetype.
Yeah, without a doubt. And of course, you see there, Kitchen Finks and Cloud Goat Ranger are just good cards wherever they show up.
Right, so we're going to take a sneak peek here over to another table where it's Scott Markeson versus Sean Collins.
Looks like we've gotten a quick start there because Sean Collins is already up a game.
Yep, Sean is a local player to the Northwest, and he's been playing for a long time. Could this be his breakthrough performance? I think he's X1 right now, so.
All right, well, there's action on Scott Markinson's side.
Yeah, the board state is 2 Thal Germinators for Markeson, and then a Kithyn Greatheart and an Amaru Scout for Sean Collins.
So is it Giants? Is it Rebels?
Is it Rebel Giants?
Is it Rebel Giants? It might be Giants. They might be Giants. It could also be a boat.
Anything could be a boat. I saw some really interesting red-white Giants decks earlier that was using Amaru Scout to get your Avian Changelings into play, which turns on all your Giant cards. So there's some great synergies happening there.
Yeah, that's a pretty cool idea.
And Sean was flicking through his cards pretty furiously there, but I think I saw a pair of Avian Changelings.
I think you did too.
And a Thundercloud Shaman, which is the big card for the Giants deck.
Yeah, it's going to wipe out those Germinators when it comes down.
So Sean plays one of those Changelings, turning on that Greatheart, and just serves on in. If you're Scott Markeson here, do you think you block with that Thal Germinator?
I don't think I'm so worried yet, and I want my Thallids to start making the Sapperling army.
Right, especially a hallmark of green decks we've seen has been Trump the Domains. I don't know if Scott has one or not, but if you have a Trump, you really don't want to trade off your creatures because, if you have a lot of creatures, it'll make your Trump that much better.
Right, 1 more creature could mean 4 more damage or 5 more damage.
Right. And that's huge.
But he's going to trade. I mean, the trade may be profitable because there's no Rebel searching now. There's no Bound in Silence. There's none of the Changelings that he can go get.
Right, you're absolutely right, Sheldon. We've seen that Rebel chain be super strong this weekend.
Oh, there's the Sporloth Agent. So he had a plan.
Now, worth noting is the Sporoloth Ancient makes it so you only have to remove 2 counters from your Thalids to make a token, and that Germinator already has 2 on it, so it's ready and rare to make a token. And with the Germinator, you can sacrifice a token to give a creature +1/+1. So, we got the engine rolling.
Okay, the Avian Changeling is going to come in for 2. Drop Scott Markeson down to 14.
And yeah, Sean, has another Avian Changeling on the board. That's 4 points of flying power right there. It's got to make Scott Markeson at least a little nervous.
And Thundercloud Shaman now is going to do 3 when it ETBs.
Once again, those changelings, kind of the glue of these tribal decks, holding together all these disparate tribes, meaning you can take an early changeling and you can search for it with a rebel. You can do any number of things.
All right, we're back to our Camera A match. That's Melissa Detora on the left and Dusty Ochoa on the right. What's Dusty got? Oh, there's the Mad Ante.
There's the ante. And we saw Melissa pass 2 Mad Antes in the first pack of the draft. She could have actually had a pretty good Goblins deck if she had taken them, but it was a little early, but it looks like Dusty might have sucked those up.
All right, the Scout's going in.
And to show you how strong the Mad Ante is in the Goblins deck, Dusty doesn't even think about trading with that Scout.
Right.
He's like, I'll take the 2 damage.
Right.
I need this ante going long.
Well, again, it makes her Murderous Redcap do the Murderous Redcap do 3 damage when it comes in instead of 2, and then 2 when it persists. So it's it's 2 extra damage plus any attacks that it gets. And not to mention regenerating.
Right. Regenerating is really huge. It allows you to block, especially some of Melissa's big monsters over and over again. If she's attacked with a Spore Soul or Thallid, you can regenerate on defense.
No turn 3 play from Melissa Detora after the land drop.
Looks like Dusty is clutching a Glacial Ray there.
He certainly is.
Maybe he's thinking about using it. I don't know. We'll see.
Mad Ante just going to come in.
Wow, Dusty's hand seems pretty stocked.
There's a red cap.
And this is the interaction you were just talking about. With the pump, red cap deals 3 damage, and that'll kill that Scout right out. Now, is that a pair of Glacial Rays in Dusty's hand?
Oh, no 4th land drop for Melissa Detora. Oh, there's the Demigod of Revenge. That's what we saw take down the match for Dusty Ochoa in the last round.
Wow, and look at how fast Dusty has taken an aggressive stance in this game. That's with the help of Demigod of Revenge, he went from, a pretty reasonable board state to just Melissa scooping up her cards.
Right.
Wow.
Okay, Melissa Detora, Dusty Ochoa are going to go to game 3 as Ochoa evens it up on the back of a nice curve out there.
Yeah.
Of Mad Ante, Murderous Redcap, Demigod of Revenge.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's take a look at the Goblins deck real fast. Some of the key cards in the Goblins deck on screen here.
See if crack producer Rashad Miller can get that up for us.
Maybe. So some of the key cards in the Goblins deck you could expect are combinations like that. Mad Ante, Murderous Redcap, Tar Pitcher is a big one that can allow you to tap and sacrifice your Goblins to deal 2 damage to a creature. And with Persist, that's even better. Something really cool about the Goblins deck, too, is it's actually not that susceptible to removal spells. It has Persist. It has guys that swarm the ground. So if your opponent is holding, and it's got Mog War Marshal, which makes another token when it dies. If your opponent is holding a card like Fiery Fall, Torrent of Stone, a number of things, Goblins is really good against those kind of removal spells. They just start to falter a little bit when faced with a bunch of green, beefy creatures.
Right. Well, you see here on the slide, the last bullet is that the creature recursion is a big power in the deck. Sting Scourger you see there, Mog War Marshal, Bone Splitter. Pretty sure that Dusty has Mog War Marshal. Don't think he has a Bone Splitter.
And I think he's got a Sting Scourger too. I saw him flipping through his deck. And that card's really important because it helps you get by those green creatures that might otherwise impede your path. There's the Uncommon Suite.
Yeah, we've seen the Mad Ante and the Murderous Redcap already really do some heavy lifting.
If you look at a lot of the other tribes' Uncommon Suites, you'll see that they're using a lot of utility good cards like Kitchen Finks or Cloud Goat Ranger. But with Goblins, the Uncommons are really important to the deck. They go a long way. So here we are at game 3, just like we drew it up.
Yep.
Super tense. The winner makes top 8s. Everything is on the line for these guys right here.
Now the problem for both of these players now is also, unlike this being a 13-1 bracket, the loser here gets no Pro Tour invite.
Right. I think they're both already invited because Dusty got second in the last Pro Tour, but and I think Melissa has an invite. But even then, I mean, still, there's pro points on the line, all kinds of things.
All right. Blight Speaker for Dusty Ochoa.
Right. They both have Rebel Searchers on now. Dusty with the Blight Speaker and Melissa with the good guy, Amaru Scout.
Yeah.
And Melissa just passes on turn 3.
Yeah, we're not going to let you do any searching, I think.
Dusty says, we're going to let the bad rebels win and get rid of your...
Drag you down.
Yeah, 2-1.
That's the mountain. Oh, that's the mountain walk giant.
Now, really interesting in the draft, we saw Melissa pick up a bunch of those Hillcomber giants. They were coming around late, and she was taking them over reasonable picks for situations just like this. You could put them in their sideboard, bring them in when she needed them, and a 4-mana 3/3 isn't great, but a 4-mana 3/3 unblockable, sign me up.
Yeah. All right. Bound in Silence gets search up by Dusty Ochoa. Well, there's his white card.
All right, there's at least one of his white cards, and that'll put a stop to the shenanigans Melissa was trying to pull with that 3/3 unblockable. The question is, how many Bound in Silence does Dusty have? If he has another Bound in Silence in his deck, it could be very rough for Melissa Detora. And there's another Hillcomber giant. Oh, I think he does. He's activating it in his upkeep. And boom, there's another Bound in Silence.
Probably no Tranquility coming here out of Melissa. So, 2 major threats for her that the Blight Speaker and the Rebel Search has been able to stave off. I mean, because that's 8 a turn right there.
Yeah, I mean, those 2 3/3s are going to deal a lot of damage. And it's also note how Dusty did it in his upkeep, so he didn't risk drawing the Bound in Silence. Because if he draws it, he couldn't actually cast it.
Right.
So that's what's pretty good play by Dusty there, making sure to not accidentally draw the Bound in Silence and get,
Veteran Armor from Melissa Detora.
Get hurt by that.
And I guess we're just going to see from Dusty a Murderous Redcap to take it out.
Oh.
Oh, now she's going to give it a test of faith.
All right, and that Veteran Armor certainly survives the test, becoming a 4/4 in the process.
She's been on only 2 cards left for Melissa. So, big land pocket. I mean, she probably had to be pretty happy to see the land pocket and the 2 Mountain Walkers.
Right. I mean, the Hillcomber Giants are going to go a long way, but the double Bound in Silence from Dusty Ochoa is just taking over this game.
Double block there. And
so Dusty activates that Blight Speaker to deal 1 damage to Melissa.
let's deal all the damage to the Blight Speaker. Kadama's Reach.
And now Melissa will be able to find her Swamp, so I don't know if she has Drag Down in hand or not, but it'll at least let her cast it if she draws it.
All right, significant threats offered by Melissa Detora, answered by Dustin Ochoa.
And for those of you confused with what happened with that block, Dustin blocked with Blight Speaker and Murderous Redcap. Melissa dealt all 4 damage to the Blight Speaker, so the Redcap couldn't persist and come back and kill the Armorer.
Well played by Melissa. Oh, Glacial Ray for Dusty Ochoa.
And Dusty's hand is just stocked.
Murderous Redcap is going to swing in.
Looks like Warren Pilfers. Or
another Murderous Redcap going right to the dome.
Wow. Super strong. Yeah, Dusty's hand is really strong here. It's got Fiery Fall, Glacial Ray, Stinkweed Imp, Warren Pilferers.
And I think he's just going to start just seriously battling with the Redcaps because it's damage, 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 even if you block them.
Right, and Melissa may hold back that Veteran Armor, but even if she does, Dusty has the Glacial Ray to take it out.
You need to drop more than 5 spells.
Yeah, persisting back is not going to kill it. Let's block the foily one with the with the spooky glow in the dark eyes.
So the armor takes 2 damage.
There's the Glacial Ray to finish it off. Melissa drops to 11. And threat density for Dustin Ochoa.
Right, and there's a Stinkweed Imp, and so Dusty Ochoa's board is now 2 red caps, 1 that's persisted, a Stinkweed Imp, and he's got a Fiery Fall and Warren Pilfer still in his hands.
Looking rough for Melissa Detora. Looking good for Dustin Ochoa, who's a player who's just and he peeled the Tribal Flames.
Oh yikes! I mean that's 2 damage right there. Could either kill off the Scout or just go straight to Melissa's Dome if necessary.
Yeah, he's got enough to be close to finishing her off here.
He's going to use the Tribal Flames to take out that Scout and make sure she doesn't start searching up any rebels of her own.
She drops to 7. There's another Veteran Armor. Dusty just untaps. And once again, he's going straight in.
And he drew...
Red cap, Stinkweed Imp.
And he drew Sudden Shock there, which is 2 points of damage to the face again. So Dusty is just inches away from taking down this game. Oh, and Warren Pilfer's returning that red cap. Is good. That's 4 damage right there.
Yeah,
between
there's
going
to
to
be the handshake. Dustin Ochoa takes down Melissa Detora 2 games to 1 in savage fashion.